Welcome to Focused on Forward. The purpose of this podcast is to focus on recovery from life situations, be it a disease, chronic or acute, perhaps the loss of someone so dear to you in death, or a change of life patterns that has affected you so profoundly that you have no choice but to find your new normal and become focused on moving forward. Each episode is designed to show the positivity that people bring to each and every one of their stories, the successes they've had, ways that they have become so definitively focused on moving forward. We look forward to sharing their stories, and we hope that they inspire you just as much as they have inspired us. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Focused on Forward. Today we're talking with Timothy McLaughlin. Glad to have Timothy here, and I think you guys are going to be interested in his story and what he has to share here in a moment. Now, you may recognize him once he starts talking, and you might recognize his voice. And if you look him up on IMDb, you're certainly going to recognize him from a few of the shows and things that he's been on. You may have seen him on Everybody Hates Chris. You may have seen him on Monk, CSI, and a few other things. But today he's here to talk about some of the things that he's had to deal with through his course of his journey in life. But we're going to talk more so about how he overcame those things and what he's doing on a day-to-day basis to stay focused on forward. So, Timothy, thank you for being on our show today, and glad to have you here.
Hey, Tim. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to turn this over to you. I'm going to let you just tell us what's going on, how we got to where we're at, and what you're dealing with.
Oh, gosh. Well, obviously everybody's well aware that we've been in a pandemic for the last year. It's been a really, really rough ride. I actually lost my talent agent during that period of time because, when things go dry, sure, and we either don't get as much work, or sometimes the agencies actually close up. I actually had one of my managers actually closed up shop, and she moved to Atlanta because there was more work going on in Atlanta. But anyway, so what happened is I decided to take that time to reinvent myself.
Okay.
Created a whole new look. I now have probably more facial hair than I think I ever had in my entire life.
It's a very impressive beard mustache.
I never ever thought I would have something quite like this, but when you have to make changes in your life, you've got to sit there and say, oh, okay, well, maybe things are ready for a change. Anyway, talking about all of these things, the biggest, most, I guess, struggling thing that you have as an actor is trying to stay relevant in everything that you do. And it's been hard doing that during the pandemic. Even all the major movie actors, they go on TikTok, they go on YouTube, they create all this other content so that they can stay relevant. Right. So right now I've decided to change it and create this look. And it actually came accidentally. I was meeting with a photographer of mine, and we actually were getting some new headshots, and I had kind of a short beard going on at the time. And so we were doing some different looks. And then my wife and I started watching the series, the Starz series Outlander.
Oh, okay.
And we were doing that. I'm going to move with you a little bit here. I got a little construction going on in the background, so let me know if there's an issue with the sound. But the interesting thing that happened was we were watching the show, my wife and I, and the actor Graham McTavish had this tremendous beard set up, and my wife said, I wonder if you can look like that. She says, I bet you would get a lot of work. So lo and behold, I started doing that, and all of a sudden I said to myself, hey, this is pretty cool. Let's see if something comes out of it. And sure enough, I ended up getting a model and commercial agent signing.
Oh, nice.
With brand international model agency called Brand Models and Talent. They signed me to do commercial and print work. So as we come out of this pandemic, hopefully that's going to be a big plus. And now I'm trying to work my way into getting back into the film and television.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what are some of the what are some of the emotional and mental challenges that you deal with in being an actor? Because now I've talked with several others and they've all highlighted the fact that there's the initial struggle of getting used to being told no. How was that an issue for you? Did you handle rejection well?
Oh, well, you have to. And it's not, I never handle rejection well. Nobody should handle rejection well. I mean, when I say that, I mean, rejection's a part of life. Failure is a part of life. You know, whether you're failing at, in school, or whether you have some issues and you fail doing anything from the simplest of tasks, failing is a part of learning. And then from that you adjust and you recreate how to be successful. So I knew that when I got into acting, and it's really interesting, the beginning of it all revolved around, of course, a girl, because I was in high school and there was this girl that I really liked, and she was in the drama club. So I thought to myself, hey, what better way to get to know this girl than to join into the drama club? So I did, and that's where I found out that I really, really, really loved acting. Of course, the girl had long since moved on, and but my acting career kept flourishing. So it transcended into college, and I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree at the University of Florida. I went on to do multiple stage shows at Universal Studios in Orlando, and from there, television shows, commercials, and then a move out here to California.
Okay. So let's ask you this. I got a few questions I want to ask you based on not only just um your career path, but also on what I've sensed in your own personality, just some things here. So let's uh let's start with this one here. What could you be grateful for and positive about right now if you really wanted to? What's the biggest thing that you need or you feel that you are most grateful for?
Most grateful?
Yeah.
My wife. Are you kidding me? I've been married for about 26 years. I met my wife back in 1992, 91, and so we've been together for almost 30 years. The the most amazing thing that you can have in your life is someone to support you in whatever your endeavors might be. Somebody that doesn't give you negative feedback, they give you positive feedback throughout your entire life. And my wife's done nothing but give me that mental, emotional support throughout our entire life. And that includes even when we were raising our two sons. And that does put a really big burden. A lot of Hollywood relationships don't last because they have to choose between family and career. That's a big, big balance that is so difficult to make in Hollywood. So yeah, I think that maybe at times I sort of backed off of my career in Hollywood because I knew that my family was more important. They were worth keeping. But I've always, every time I've pressed forward in my acting career, my wife has always been supportive, and she's always been there. And so when I do come home, or when I do, I don't get the part, or I had, problems with the audition I didn't feel good about, she's always there to say, hey, there's going to be another one right around the corner. This opportunity just, it wasn't the one that was meant for you. So having that kind of support is huge when you're not only a struggling actor, but even when you're a successful actor. So during the moments and the periods of time when I did have successful experiences, she was also there from an understanding point, saying, okay, well, I know I'm not going to see you for a couple of weeks, or I know that we're not going to be around. And it's really a big trust factor, trusting that your partner is going to, you know, be there for you, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I can echo a lot of that in my own life with my wife. We've been
Mm.
married for, let's see, it'll be 23 years in about 2 weeks. And everything that I feel I've been even remotely or moderately successful at, it's been because of the support of my wife, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
had it not been for her and her support, I don't know that I would be anything of what I am or where I am in life.
Sure, sure. I
So
mean, I had before I met my wife, I was dating a girl, and she, she got to the point where she was like, I don't know if I can be with someone who wants to be an actor, because they're going to be poor, they're not going to be able to financially support me, and this and that, and that moment was basically it was that was when my eyes opened up, and I go, okay, well, you are not the one for me then,
right.
because if support only goes one way in a marriage, then it's not going to last very long.
No.
And I think a lot of the marriages in Hollywood have failed because either the one or the other loses trust in one of them. Whether it's we're apart, and I don't know if you can be apart from me long enough and not, you know, uh, um, fool around or do
Sure.
anything that would violate our marriage vows or anything like that. And also there are some marriages where people can't be apart for long periods of time. They just feel insecure, they have
Right.
insecurities about themselves, and so if the husband or the wife actor is away for long periods of time, then there could be certainly some insecurities that could creep in, and that's not good for a marriage either.
No, yeah, I think you're right on with that one. All right, so now earlier you mentioned the fun that was 2020 that has carried into 2020 Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, or as we like to call it, 2021. So you mentioned some of the issues and problems that a lot of people have experienced and faced
Mhm.
trying to traverse this pandemic. Um, but what's one problem that you're thankful that you don't have?
Hmm, that's an interesting question. I guess the one problem I'm thankful that I don't have. Wow, I at this point right now, everybody is financially struggling, in one way, shape, or form. I'm grateful and thankful that we managed to, how shall I say it, be very mindful of finances throughout my career. And so now we're at the point where our kids are basically out of the house. So it's my wife and I. And during this entire financial crisis, we haven't been as tragically affected like so many thousands of other people.
Yeah,
We've managed to budget ourselves a little bit more. Yes, we've had to really tighten our budget up just like everyone else. But I think the thing that I'm most thankful for is that we're still able to make our monthly ends meet, and we're still able to help people out, whether it's family or whether it's very close friends that may be in need of a little bit of help and support during this time as well. So I really feel lucky that we're on that side right now. However, 2021 could cause a whole different, event that could create something that we wouldn't be able to get through.
yeah, I agree with that. Again, I can echo those sentiments with my life and what's going on with my wife and I, and we've been very fortunate. My wife works for a university here in Michigan, and we've been fortunate that she's been able to stay employed. She wasn't furloughed, any of those things, and so that's been nice for us. Um, with everything that people have gone through with 2020, there's been uh, an increase of mental health awareness because of the stresses that the pandemic has placed on all of us with quarantines and social distancing and all these type of things. How have you gone about handling those things?
Well, my wife she got laid off back in May. So the two of us have basically been living together, like every moment of every day together. And while everybody knows that you can get on each other's nerves, no matter who you are, when you spend countless hours and countless days with one another.
Right.
And we do get on each other's nerves. And I'll sit there and I'll say, hey, hon, I need to go and I need to go on a bike ride, or I need to go drive down here to the beach, or I need to, go hit some golf balls on the driving range. I mean, thank God some of the things are still available to
Yeah.
go and do. Now I live down in Orange County, which is a whole different world than LA County, which is so much more restricted. A lot of people down here, just for the most part, are still living a semi-normal life. But we've both been home with each other the whole time. So it really can get monotonous. It really can get claustrophobic. And the best thing that we try to do is, hey, get out. Let's get outside. Let's do something.
Mhm.
For a while we were on this, hey, we're going to jog and run, and we're going to, work on a fit kind of a thing. And yeah, and you also find other things like cooking. Hey,
Mhm.
let's learn how to cook some different things. I guarantee you that probably about 75% of the society has learned how to cook a new dinner or something over the course of these last,
Absolutely.
8, 9, 10 months. And we also find this, look at the littler things. We take the smaller things that we used to take advantage of. We're starting to now open our eyes and see those smaller detailed things.
Sure.
My oldest son lives up in Spokane, and he has been in touch with us constantly, talking about how his life has been affected. And then my 19-year-old son, who was in college, he had to come home. My wife and I were sitting here this time last year, thinking, oh wow, we're free. Kids are out of the house. We did it. We're sitting there high-fiving each other. We did it. We did it. We did it. We're gonna spend some time with each other. I'm gonna focus on my career. You're gonna focus on your career. I mean, this was supposed to be the time where we were supposed to just kick it into high gear with the two of us. We were gonna travel.
Sure.
Yeah, for our 25th anniversary, we actually were gonna go to Scotland. We had the whole trip already booked and paid for,
Oh,
and
wow.
we got stymied with it. So it's postponed until later on this year, but that may not even happen either.
Right.
So yeah, so you got to get down into the smaller things that you didn't really take into account on a day-to-day basis. And I guess that's the biggest thing that we've learned from this whole pandemic is, slow down, look around. My wife and I, between the two of us, we lost 6 uncles in
Oh,
the last
wow.
12 months. None of them to COVID. None of them. It's just, it would have happened whether the pandemic was here or not. But we
6 is
lost
a
six,
lot.
6 of them. We
Yeah.
lost all of them. I don't have another uncle. My wife doesn't have another uncle.
Hmm.
Yeah, they all left this year. Unbelievable.
Yeah. My
And
condolences, man.
yeah, yep. Just lost my last one this morning. He passed away. I mean, they were all in their 80s.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, exactly. But still, but they lived good lives, and it just seemed so surreal that so much death has encompassed this world, not just our family, but everyone in every way, shape, or form. Um, and so it does. It gives you pause, to sit back, to reflect on small things, on what you have, no matter how small they might be. So I guess that's one good thing, is taking stock in the things that we normally took granted for.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Yeah. Another person I interviewed called it uh, a gratitude schedule. He made sure that every day he scheduled time for himself to make sure that he was grateful for
Mhm.
something. That he would look
Yeah.
around, he would see something, and I need to be grateful for this today. Today, I need to
Yep.
be grateful for this. So I think that's a very good. It's a very healthy thing to do too, to make sure that we're grateful for all these little things around us. I think too, one of the things that the pandemic has brought upon us is, now you mentioned, taking notice and taking stock of all these little things. But one of the other things that it's done is while we're doing that is we start taking stock of ourselves, who we
Mhm.
are, what we are, how we are. um, I realized very quickly that if I was going to work from home with my wife, because I've been a stay-at-home dad for the last few years of our
Hmm.
children's life. Our oldest is off and married. Our middle child graduated high school last year. Our youngest just turned 14, and she has some health issues. But I've been a stay-at-home dad since she was 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
But one of the things I realized though is that in order to continue to facilitate all these things with now my wife working from home, I was going to have to work on my patience, because I am not a very patient person to begin with, and I know that. So I looked at myself and I saw a need to make changes.
Yeah.
So, other than developing a need to appreciate the small things, was there something about you, about Timothy McLaughlin, that you looked at yourself and said, I need to make a change here?
Yeah, I mean, I've had concerns about getting older in any way, shape, or form. Like it's always when you get up into your 50s, you're always thinking about your health now. All of a sudden, health becomes a major factor, even when you're a healthy person.
Hmm.
Um, so me, from a standpoint of being healthier, my wife and I have sworn off until, of course, this past Christmas. Christmas always gets me with candies and cookies and cakes, and coming from an Italian family, my mom would do nothing but bake. And if you saw the picture she had sent me a couple of weeks ago, her entire kitchen counter was filled with just literally buckets of Christmas desserts and cookies and things.
I love it.
And yeah, we swore to get off of that. And it's helped us a lot. We're older people. We're always trying to do something to stay healthy, and sometimes you can do everything you can to stay healthy, but then you've got to be healthy and happy. I mean, my wife wanted me to try some salad kale stuff, and I go, I'll eat that, but I'm not going to be happy. I mean, it's my grandfather smoked and drank heavily and lived to be 88 years old. And it's just, we've come to the conclusion where, look, balance something good in your diet, but also invite the things that make you happy into your
Right.
into your diet as well. That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, I'm going to go cold turkey, and then they end up being miserable. Oh, they might have lowered their cholesterol a few points, or they might have, feel they lost a few pounds. But
Right. Yeah.
in the end, okay, so you're a physically fit, miserable person,
Yeah.
you know, instead of finding some kind of a balance. As far as my career goes, I've made a pact with myself when the pandemic hit, and that pact was, I'm not going to stop focusing on my goal. What I have to do now is I have to create a whole new plate of things that I'm going to focus on during the year. And one of them was reinventing my look. Another one is, I decided I'm going to watch a lot more independent, lower budget films. I want to get more into the independent film world than I had been in the past. I mean, I was, but now I'm really getting into that more because, let's face it, the film industry is changing big
Oh,
time.
very
It's
much so. Yeah.
evolving. I mean, the attention span of these next couple of generations that are coming up, it's very small. It's very short.
Correct.
Social media has put such a short attention span on whatever you want to call them, millennials or Gen X's or whatever you want to call them. The attention span is so small because they're so used now to watching these TikTok videos or
1 minute and
short,
done.
yeah, the YouTube videos. So keeping their attention. So the entire film industry, media industry has all been making this massive shift from going to the movie theater to staying home, sitting on your computer with your headphones on, watching these short videos or presentations. So I really do. I think that the entertainment industry, from a standpoint of filmmaking, is turning towards a lot of amateur filmmakers, a lot of low budget filmmakers, and these people come up with ideas, and a lot of these ideas are brilliant. and they put it on a small platform, and they get, hundreds of thousands of views and follows, and that's what's generating financial support through either advertising or through other means to promote their products. So it's really shrinking in a different way.
Okay. So here's a question I like to ask every single guest that's been on the show thus far. Looking back over the entirety of your life, your journey from little Timothy to where you're at now, what is the single greatest lesson you have learned?
Patience. I guess that's the biggest word I've ever had, because patience has literally been a part of every aspect of my life. And there have been times when I've lost it, patience. There have been times when I've had more patience than maybe I should have had. But from my career, from the beginning of my career to where I am right now, has always been a lesson in patience. There's just, if you try to get somewhere too fast, you're going to regret yourself. You're going to forget things that you should have brought along with you on the path. You're going to alienate people that you would have liked to have brought with you on the journey.
Okay.
There's just so many things that you can sit there and say, oh, I wish I would have done this differently. I wish I would have done that differently. I mean, yeah, if we all had time machines, we'd all go back to make our lives better. But would we go back to make our lives better financially, or would we go back to make our lives better spiritually? You
Sure.
know? And it's really interesting, because the kids nowadays, I don't think they have any sense of spirituality right now, but I don't think I had it when I was in my 20s either. They're living for the moment of of recognition,
Okay.
and validation. So, and all I can say is that patience, every person has their 15 minutes of fame, whether they have it at the beginning, the middle, or the end of their lives. Everyone's going to have it. It's what you do with that 15 minutes of fame to complete your life, basically.
Yeah, good. Okay. So, and one more question that I like to ask every guest. What was the single greatest piece of advice that you were given that inspires you still today?
As an actor or as a person? Because I
Yes.
have, yes. As an
So
actor and
either way, if you want to share both of them, you can, or if one trumps the other as far as you're concerned, either way,
yeah, I'll share. I'll be
I'll let
happy.
you make that call.
I'll absolutely. I'll share one experience that I had with a very well-known actor by the name of Alfred Molina. I was doing an
Oh
episode
yeah.
of Monk. And he played a guest starring role, and I was his attorney in the episode. And so there was a scene where we had to sit in a limousine for extended periods of time between camera takes. And so we started having a conversation, and what an amazingly humble person he is, just a fantastic human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him very casually, I said, so what do you got lined up next? What are you going to be doing next? Young, naive actor that I was or am. And he turns to me and he says, I don't know. He says, I'm going to be just as unemployed as you are. And I said, nah, that's, and he said, look, he says, the way that I look at my acting career, he says, is once I'm done with every project, I look at myself as being, that could have been the last project I've ever done. He says, so I always approach it as the moment I'm finished with that project, I'm unemployed. And he says, that's what keeps me hungry. No matter whether there's something lined up or not, he gives himself that frame of mind that I'm unemployed. And what it does is it humbles him, and it gives him appreciation for the next project that comes right along. So that was a very important lesson that he gave me, is always, 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 no matter what role you get, if you get the starring role in a movie, or if it's just a small part, when you're finished with that part, you have to basically tell yourself, that's it. This could be the end. This could be, I don't have anything left. I've got to fight for the next role. I've got to fight for the next part. And so that's really, I took that very, very much to heart.
That's good advice.
Yeah. From a standpoint of life, my father was very important in my life. He passed away when I was 35. But when I was getting married, some of the greatest words that my father, could ever extend upon me was always be open. Always be open to someone else's point of view. Always be open to someone else's point of view. He says, because sometimes when you get emotional or angry, your point of view can get clouded. So he basically said that to me literally before I was about to get married. And I think he meant that, like, in a partnership, in a marriage, you always have to look to the other person's point of view and appreciate what they have to say. And he also said, the more you listen and the less you talk, but the more you listen in a conversation, the more you're going to learn. So
seems like a very wise man. That's good advice from him.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. So looking at your IMDb profile here, we have some, obviously some acting credits and things, but you want to let's tell everybody about what you've got coming up, what the future holds for you as far as the acting world.
Well, the pandemic put a lot of my projects on hold, but I decided that I wanted to take control of a few things. So I decided to get together with some other friends who, had similar struggles with the pandemic, directors, other actors. And we got together and we said, hey, let's not let this thing really stop us. So we filmed a couple of small projects, one which is just finishing up in post-production, and we're hoping to put out to some film festivals, both domestic and international. And it's called Fleeced, and it's sort of like it's sort of a really funny little comedy short, kind of in the lines of, if anybody knows who the comedy character Mr. Bean.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of in that, a lot of physical comedy and not a lot of dialogue, and it's a very, very funny short. Nice. Very, very endearing. I had a project, and this just goes to show you how anything can happen at any given time when you're filming a movie. I was doing another movie called King of Wishful Thinking. Okay. That was actually filmed about 1.5 years ago, and it starred Emmy Award-winning actor Kim Estes.
Okay.
And it was directed by a lady named Molly Fitzgerald, and a lot of people might know that name. She was involved in a very tragic situation in fact, almost this time last year, exactly this time last year. She basically has been basically indicted for killing her mom.
Oh, geez.
She had a very serious emotional breakdown, and the tragic event unfolded over Christmas, I think, last year. And so, the film project is basically dead in the water or on hold because, when something like that happens, it's very difficult to move forward in a post-production way, because she actually produced it and wrote it and directed it. And it's a fantastic film, a fantastic piece. But, there's nothing that can be done when, you get into the legal issues about the rights on the film and who's going to be able to finish it. And so we're very frustrated, and we're still trying to work our way into getting, I literally have possession of the film, but I can't do anything with it. Right. So I'm trying to find some legal recourse to maybe, get this train going again, but it's a long process. And so many films fall into that category. They get stuck on a shelf after they're done because there may be some legal terms or issues or problems. Okay. So many movies never get made. So many of them, they get made, but they never get seen because of problems that happen similar to this. But we plow through it, we plow through those things. I was pinned to do a movie. When I say pinned, I was um, I was asked to be part of it. A movie called Warrior of Eight Flags last summer, and the project, because of the pandemic, got basically put on hold. And gosh, it's so difficult when you have a movie and you have the production dates and you are ready to go, and then all of a sudden something like this happens and it basically sends all the talent and crew scattering to the wind. Well, it's really hard to gather everybody back up
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
get them all back together for another shoot time. Sometimes it takes years to get everybody back together, and sometimes they end up having to recast it. Sometimes they have to bring in new actors because what happens is people have schedules, and you know getting them all together at the same time is not an easy task.
Right. Maybe be
Yeah.
able to do it once, and twice might be a trick.
Yeah, so we're turning around and we're hoping that maybe the spring or the summer of this year it'll all come back together and we'll be on track to film that.
Well, I hope so. That'd be cool. So
Yeah.
where's a good place for people to find out more information about you?
Well, you had said my IMDb page is a good way to see what projects are coming up.
Okay.
Um, that can be, you can go to imdb.me/Timothy McLaughlin, and that'll bring you right to my page. I am on Instagram, and I'm trying to get more involved in, posting stuff on Instagram. But if you go to my Instagram page, which is, I guess it's at the Timothy Mac.
Okay.
So at the Timothy Mac, take you to when you go into Instagram, it'll bring you to my page, and I'm starting to post more things there, and some stuff about my personal life, some stuff about my professional life, and where things are going there. And there's also links on that Instagram site that can take you to back over to IMDb, or Actors Access, which is my full resume and stuff. If you wanted to
Okay.
get more in depth and see, you can certainly check that out. But not doing as much Twitter and Facebook these days. It's that those platforms have gotten a little too, how shall I say it, high intensity for me. I much rather keep things more casual and upbeat.
I tend to agree with you on that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
So
unfortunately for my shows, they're kind of necessary evils. I use them
yeah,
to try and get more traffic to for people to listen to the podcast and get it out there. Between this show and like I was saying earlier, my other show, the Funny Science Fiction Podcast, that's a YouTube podcast. So trying to get those out there to I use those heavily for advertising. So
sure. I mean,
but
you can connect with me on Instagram anytime anybody wants to either follow me or give me a follow request or something, or you can leave messages there on Instagram. And I think you can even follow me on IMDb. And the funny thing about it is my IMDb maybe reflects about 65 to 75% of the projects that I've done. I've done a lot more projects that are on IMDb. It's just that you either don't get the credits for it, or it never makes it to a big screening. Like here's a little something maybe your listeners may be interested in knowing.
okay.
I was actually Jackie Earle Haley's double for the Last Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so every shot that was not Jackie Earle Haley's face, that was not Freddy's face, I'd say about 95% of the shots, that was me in the picture. So that was a lot of fun to do.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I got to do all the slashes, all the gut special effects of taking out my victims and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool, and it was a really great experience. But they don't post music videos on IMDb. I've done a lot of them.
Okay.
I was actually a Bruce Willis lookalike for a rock band.
Oh, funny.
Time, right? Yeah, they did a whole Die Hard kind of spoof. And, I played John McClane running through a bunch of flames and stuff, and it was pretty good. It was cool.
I like it.
So I got yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, we'll make sure that we'll put some of that information into the dialogue of the post when we put it out there. But Timothy, thank you so much for being on here today with us. Thank you for having a conversation with us, and you sure have been a joy to talk with.
Hey, my pleasure, man. It was great talking with you too, Tim.
All right, guys. That's going to conclude us today for Focused on Forward. Well, that concludes another episode of Focused on Forward. To be a guest of Focused on Forward, you can reach us through Twitter at podcastfof, through our Facebook page named Focused on Forward, or through email focusedonforward@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing each and every one of your stories that has yet to be told. So until then, be safe, be kind, and be loving to one another as you stay focused on forward.